John Anderson has been beachcombing for almost 50 years, climbing down cliffs, wading through high tides, and dragging his finds home with his family and friends through the forests of the Pacific Northwest. He is considered by some to be the world's greatest beachcomber and has filled his beachcombing museum in Forks, Washington, with literally tons of treasures found on beaches around the world. From sea glass floats to lost marine equipment, and from fossils to shipping container flotsam, John has collected it all. I highly recommend a visit to John's Beachcombing Museum in the summer to see a lifetime of beachcombing treasures on display. Kirsty and I had the rare opportunity to be able to visit the museum, and it's truly amazing. I saw in the comments a couple of you have had the chance as well. So I'd like to welcome John, and John, feel free to let us know a little more about the museum, and then you can answer some questions.
Cool. And
Okay.
yeah, some people ask questions on YouTube, but you can also ask them in the chat here. So go ahead, John.
Well, thanks for inviting me. This beachcombing has been a passion of mine for 47 years. I've been packing it back. And like in my video said, you get into the wide open, the fresh air. You meet a lot of people. Sometimes it's best you don't meet anybody. The beachcombing's better. The video kind of pretty much said everything about what's going on at the museum, and I'm adding new sculptures all the time. The last thing I added was a catamaran sailboat. It's on a spindle, so it turns in the wind with the sail up. But there's always something new. I had a friend in Texas, so I'd go beachcombing down there with him every year, and they have some really cool stuff on the outer islands there. And he passed away a couple of years ago, and his widow is going to sell the building his stuff is in. And so I made one trip, and I have to make another, but I'm bringing his stuff back, and I'm making a whole new section in the museum upstairs of his stuff. And it's really cool stuff. A lot of different from here. He has a lot of oil and gas exploration, a lot of different scientific things, and floats are different. Not a whole lot of glass floats. He found a couple there, the European floats.
Where was his stuff?
In Port O'Connor, Texas.
Texas. Okay, cool.
On the Gulf Coast, yeah.
Very cool.
So that'll be getting added. It'll be ready next year. But yeah, I still go out once a week with my buddy Jack, and we pack stuff back every time, and still going strong with it.
Yeah.
So,
John, you had some great stories at the Float Expo in March. And tell us about the time when you came back and a float, I think, knocked you in the head.
Oh yeah. So when the beachcombing gets good, when the glass floats come in, then everybody goes to the beach. So the glass floats started coming in really good, and I'd already hit a few beaches, but I got off work one day. I stopped at my brother's house. It was kind of a staging area to find out who went to what beach, and we found out where everybody went. So I went after work. I went down to this beach with a friend, and we hiked down the beach maybe a mile and a half, and we had a ton of glass floats. We stashed them. We were going to keep going, but I told my buddy, I says, why don't you hike on through, and I'll pick you up at the other trail. I'll pick these floats out and pack out, and then drive around and pick you up at the other end, and then we'll get more glass floats that way. He said, okay. So I loaded all them floats up, and I mean, glass floats are heavy. I had my pack full. I had all the ones with nets tied on, and I hiked up out of there, and I was going through the timber, and it was just before dark, so it was getting pretty dark, but I could still see. And I tripped on a root, and when I fell, I put my hands up to keep from hitting the ground, and I just hit the ground, and my face almost hit the dirt, and these two basketball-sized glass floats swung off my pack. It smacked me in the ears, and as I pushed up, a big 46-incher came over the top, hit me in the nose, and I woke up and it was dark and I was laying on my face. And I got up and I got everything back on and it was dark and I didn't have a flashlight.
Oh, geez.
I kind of know where the trail is, so I'm just walking with my hand in front of me like that. I had a lighter that lasted about 2 minutes. And so I finally saw a little bit of lighter out towards where the logging was, where the truck was parked. So I kind of made my way out there. I drove around, picked my friend up. He had hiked all the way out the road, the trail on the road, and was wondering where I was at. He found one glass float the whole time. So it's like I packed them all up. I killed myself.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Hey, a couple people have asked about your necklace. What is that made of?
These are little buoys, little floats. They use
What
them
would
on,
those be used for?
they're on little nets, throw nets.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, so there was an oceanographer friend of mine, Kurt Ebbesmeyer. He does tracks a lot of beachcombing drift and stuff. And he always shows up at the fairs and he's got a trash necklace on made out of little toys and stuff, little pieces of plastic. And so I started making mine out of just little buoys. I have some trash necklaces too, but.
Excellent. A couple people have asked, where is your museum? And it's in Forks, Washington. So watch out for vampires, people. Just kidding. And people have, they've obviously been following you. Can you please tell everyone about the slippers you found that ended up being a matched set?
Oh yeah, there's this slipper. I was the only plumber in town for 40 years before I opened a museum. So I was down at one of my customers down towards the beach there. He comes out, he was a professor at the University of Washington, and him and his wife come out all the time to their cabin out there. So I was in there doing some plumbing, and Leon came up there and he goes, "Hey John, this is what I found at the beach this morning." He showed me the slipper and it said Mr. McCloskey on that, the old plastic tags you used to punch out on the machine.
Oh yeah.
Across the front of it. And he was all worried. He says, "Poor Mr. McCloskey's running around with one slipper," and I'm going, "Oh, that's kind of cool," And then a year later, and about 10 miles north, I found the other slipper, exactly the same as the other one, but the other slipper. So I went, next time I went to visit him, I went down there with the other slipper and I says, "I found his other slipper the other day." And so it was really cool. And so they gave it to me for the museum. And so I put the story up there.
No slippers, poor Mr. McCloskey.
Yeah. And I Googled him, but he would, the only Mr. McCloskeys that I found was that back in the Midwest, there's a bunch of colleges that have Mr. McCloskey as professors. So
how funny. Somebody asked if you can talk about the volleyball you found from the tsunami.
Oh yeah, we were down in my ocean property after the tsunami, and it was pretty stormy and stuff. And my friend Kenny and I were down there, and at the same time we noticed this. We thought it was a white float on the other side of a log, and we went over, picked it up, and it was covered with names and writing in Japanese. And I was going, "Oh man, this is from tsunami, man. We got to find out whose this is," So I was contacted by Channel 4, Seattle, Como 4, and they did a story on it. And 2 Canadian filmmakers up in Toronto wanted to do a story on the tsunami and beachcombers finding things and returning them to Japan. And they saw that video of me and they go, "Oh, we got to get a hold of John." So they called me up and I said, "Yeah, come on out." And they did. And so we ended up taking the ball to Japan with, and we didn't find the owner. We searched for a couple of weeks through all the schools, colleges, the coaches, and figured the ball was 18 to 20 years old and had been a commemorative ball. Everybody signed and gave to the guy, but we never did. It was on media, all the media in Japan. And so it came back. It's in the museum, but we returned several balls and child's helmet and some buoys back to Japan.
Wow, that's cool. Andrea asks, what's the average time or mileage on a beach day for you? Like you have to hike through the woods to get to the beach, right?
Right. Most of the places I go to, you have to. Back in the day, I used to, when I was beachcombing, I'd spend most of the day on the beach, depending on the tide and where I was at. Now I go with my buddy Jack. We go once a week. I go early. We get there. We hike the beach. We come back out, and we still have a half a day or so to do our honeydews and stuff. So
Yeah, and she asked, do you quantify your daily finds in weight or pieces?
Oh, I just add them to the collection.
Yeah.
I'm usually packing anywhere from 30 to 50 pounds out each time.
Wow,
Of buoys and stuff.
that's great.
Yeah.
What's you found some of the I remember in the museum you have some large glass floats. Did you find all those? And what's the biggest one that you found?
The biggest one is a 46 incher, and the only one bigger than that is 52 incher, 54, 52 incher.
That's crazy.
But most of them are about this size, that have been found lately. And then my favorite of the whole museum is this glass float here. So it's a one of a kind.
Oh,
And being that the holy grail of beachcombing is a glass float, this is as good as it gets.
that's very cool. Let's see, what countries have you found glass floats from, and how do you find out where they're from?
Well, I've got them from, most of them are Japanese. There's some Chinese and some Taiwanese. I have some European ones. The Europeans started making them before the Japanese. And I've got American ones made by Northwest Glass Company and Duraglass. I've got Corning ones and Benthos floats. Those are scientific deep sea spheres. They're made to go 15,000 meters and not implode.
Have you found any metal floats?
Yeah, I've got the aluminum ones. Most of them are Norway or England, and they're used in the draggers. And then I have steel ones, and they're all Russian.
Oh,
They have
wow.
the smaller balls for the trollers, and then they have the 2-foot balls they use for their line their marinas or whatever, mark their mooring
But
buoys.
they weren't for fishing, they were more for like
The
marking.
bigger ones are more for mooring buoys. I have some great big 5-6 footers out here. Actually a couple of 9 footers out here too. They're mooring buoys.
You just drag those out, huh?
Well, like I said in the video, I was a volunteer with the park for years, and I would coordinate the beach cleanups. And I would coordinate the cleanup on a beach that I had something big on, because we had a helicopter to fly the stuff off. So I would get it flown off.
Are there many shells there? Because I remember at the museum you have a whole shell room. But did you find
Yeah,
those?
the big shell collection there was an old timer that lived over here across the hill. Before he passed away, he donated it to the museum. And I have a bunch there too, some bigger ones that when my wife and I were first together, we were down in the Virgin Islands and stuff, and got some of the great big conchs. And
Are there shells there where you are, or is it mostly?
yeah, there's shells. They're usually pretty rough shape. There's a lot of
limpets and abalones.
limpets,
Things-
abalones,
things that stick to rocks.
scallops, and then the mussels, the chitons, and just stuff like that. A lot of them are hard to get back without breaking with all my other stuff, but we've got quite a few of the limpets and all that stuff. So
where are some of the places that you've gone beachcombing besides Washington? So you've been to the Virgin Islands? Have you gone
yeah,
to East
been
Coast?
to Hawaii, got a friend there on the Big Island. That's good beachcombing there. My friend in Texas, and I still go down there now, but I was just down there last month on the beach. And then I've been to up on Vancouver Island a few times. I tried to go to Alaska, but we got weathered out, had to fly back. We were in my friend's plane. And then other place, well, we just got back from New Zealand last month, and got some shells there. They have one of the cleanest beaches I've ever seen. One beach is just loaded with abalone shells, so I brought a bunch of them back, and some of the smaller shells and stuff. But yeah, you find a few of the, I don't know what they're called, the little spirally shells out here on the beaches that she was talking about earlier.
Little snails or
yeah.
So
And,
John,
yeah.
what's like I mean, in your video, there's just some enormous buoys and other things. What's your size limitation of what you'll take home?
Well, the big oyster buoys, I will usually hook them on a rope that has a swivel on it and we'll drag them out. Some of I leave a lot of stuff. That's why I take a camera, because I can't pack this from here, so I'll take a picture, jet ski, a boat, a big heavy float, I've devised lots of things, like the big 2-foot steel buoys. I made a handle thing to roll them out with. It looks like a lawnmower type handle out of aluminum conduit, and I've rolled them out trails and stuff before. But a lot of the bigger stuff, I had a friend that flew out shake bolts, and he would fly stuff out for me. And a lot of times you were close. I have property on the ocean. I can get my quad down there, and I've gotten some of the heavier stuff off. So yeah, you just got to think about it and make a plan,
Somebody asked if you found any Native American artifacts.
I have some rock anchors, a mortar pedestal, some grinding stones. One of them's made out of a sea lion shoulder blade.
Whoa, that's cool. Yeah,
Yes.
and I think I asked you before, but is there anything that you won't bring home? Just
Well, I brought a couple of tangled nets, the gill nets the Indians use in the rivers to catch their fish, and they got washed out on the beach. They tangled up in the driftwood, so they're just a big column of driftwood and net, and they're kind of cool looking. I've got 2 of them in the museum, but there's lots of them. I found lots of them, but most of them have dead fish in them, and you're not going to pack them off. But I've never found a dead body. Everybody asks me that. I've been a day late and a day early on those before, but I just tell them I'd have to get a refrigerated display case if I did.
No. How about jars? Just put them in jars.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you're just not going to get off the beach, or some things you don't want to mess with, so depending on where you're at.
That chain you brought back, how did you get that out?
Two quads drug that out of there.
Yeah, that
all we could do to get that out.
Yeah. And what does your family think of your collection?
Oh, they all like it. All my brothers and everybody went beachcombing at one time.
They were part of it. Yeah. Partly their fault. And somebody did ask that they're up in Washington in October, and the museum is closed, but somebody could contact you and make a reservation if you're.
I used to do that, but 9 out of 10 of the people that I made a reservation to be there on a certain day at a certain time never showed up.
Yeah.
So if you happen to show up and I'm here and I'm not doing nothing, I might open the museum for you.
But yeah, head there in the summer. It really was amazing, you guys. We got in there, and how many square feet is that, John?
The museum building itself is 76 by 40. So with an upstairs loft now.
Yeah, upstairs too.
And then I have my carport outside. 2 of the stalls of that are full. I have 1 acre here that's full.
The towers.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It was very fun, and just it's super well organized too. I was thinking it was gonna, you'd think it'd be a mess, but you have it beautifully organized, and there's floats for sale there too, people.
Yeah.
Hey, John, speaking of floats, how do you find them much anymore? Someone asked if you can still find them.
Still once in a while. I found 2 little ones this last winter. About this size here. Mm-hmm. And then maybe I didn't find any the year before. I found 1 the year before that, and then 5, and then 27. So it just depends. It kind of goes in about every 4 to 7 years, you'll get a bunch of them for some reason. So
for your message in a bottle finds, where's the furthest away one that you've received?
Well, I got from a German sailor, and from the coordinates, it shows it off of the coast of Africa. But for the way he talks, excuse me, from the way he talks, and when he writes it out there, he's and the North Pacific, it sounds like, but I'm not sure. So it was kind of hard to tell, but
Yeah.
the school kids from Odobari, Japan, put their messages in beer bottles and seal them. And then one lady that circumnavigates the globe every year in a boat, when she goes around the Horn of South America, she drops them in the water where the two oceans meet, the Atlantic and
Oh,
Pacific, so to see which way they'll go. So I've got one of those too. So
oh, that's cool.
they're usually stuck to the gyre that it is, the turtle gyre goes around Japan, across to here, California, back around Hawaii. And one of them goes up north to Alaska and back down around Russia and back down. So they're usually, once they get in a gyre, they're stuck unless there's a really bad storm or something.
Oh,
But they go round and around that current, till the weather
Yeah.
decides to bring them in.
yeah, I know. Cam asked if you've ever received one that was addressed to you.
No, well, no. I've thrown notes and bottles out for years, and I got a reply from one of them. I threw it in the off the bridge at Queets, and it floated up to sea. And 2 days later, I just happened to be in Alaska, headed to Alaska, and I got a phone call. It was an Indian who was checking his nets, and I found it on the beach down there 2 days later. So, but I put 4 or 5 out every year. So,
Oh, that's good.
customers in the museum, I get bottles for them, and they can write a note and put in there. And so I put those out when I go out fishing. So hopefully somebody will reply to them.
That's very cool. That would be fun. That would be fun to have somebody find your bottle. The person who's sailing around the world, she's just sailing around the world, and then people know to send her bottles to drop, or?
No, she was Japanese. She just does it for that
Oh,
school.
okay, got it.
A lot of the school kids here down the Oregon coast and southern Washington, when they do those bottle projects, at least they used to. I don't think they let them do it anymore because they consider it littering. But they used to go to a fisherman who went out there, 30, 40, 60 miles out, and then drop the messages in bottles. So that's the way they get them out there, so they get a chance to get into the current and go wherever they're going to go.
Yeah. Are most of the things that you find brought in by the waves, they weren't thrown there on purpose? Like it wasn't a dump?
No. Well, there are campers leave a lot of stuff, and that's kind of I've gotten tents and cots and sleeping bags and stuff. People just went down to the beach and just decided they weren't going to pack it out, so you end up packing that
Or
stuff
maybe
up.
the tide came in.
Well, a lot of them were wet. Yeah, they might have got wet in the rain, but most of the stuff is in the current. And when it's the springtime, when the current is closest and you get a lot of west winds, it will blow the stuff into shore.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of camping, on some of these adventures, did you ever camp down at the beach? Make it like a 2 or 3 day?
I go camping once in a while, or used to anyway. And we would spend a couple, 3 days down there. And I still go with my old high school buddies, and we go down Toliak every August, and we camp for 4 days, and I'll go up and down the beach both ways. But not in the winter time usually.
Rainy. Anne asked if blue is the most common color float, and are they all hand blown, even those big ones?
Yeah, most of the original ones are aqua green, made by the Kawaguchi Glass Company and a couple other big glass companies. And they're the aqua color, and they just made them to make floats. And a lot of them were, at the end of the day, at the glass factories, they would take all the leftover glass, put them in a pot, melt them down, and make glass floats out of them. Just, because they didn't have an order for something else. They would just make glass floats because they could always get rid of those. And then you would get colors and swirls and different things in them. And a lot of the poor folks would go down and collect bottles and stuff, sake bottles, beer bottles, whatever. And in their backyards, they would melt them down and blow their own glass floats. So you had some pretty different colors, a lot of
That's kind of cool.
brown ones and stuff. So, but the original ones were blown. They were blown, and then they were set back in the furnace to temper, and then brought out. Now the newer ones were blown into a mold and they would shrink, and they're not as
Sturdy.
sturdy as the other ones. Yeah.
Judy asked if you've ever found any rare coins on the beach. Treasure?
No coins. I got 2 rings. I got a brass dolphin ring that I didn't really know nothing about. It looks old, but I had a lady come into the museum one day and she pulled out of her pocket. She goes, I haven't put my jewelry on today, but she says that it was a platinum ring. It was the same exact ring as the one that was in there. She said she bought it 30 years ago from that time, 30 years before, in an antique store.
Oh, wow.
So, and then I have a diamond ring. It's got like 6 diamonds on it.
Sweet.
But that was just by line of sight. I didn't use a metal detector.
Yeah, yeah. Melissa asked if you ever encountered wild animals on your beach.
All the time. Yep. There always used to be bear down there.
Bear,
Deer. I've seen elk on there. Wild dogs. People let their dogs go.
Yikes.
There's this time of the year, there's a lot of baby seals. Moms, they rest on the beach while the mom is out there. Sea lions, come up on the beach. Yeah, you see all kinds of animals. A lot of dead ones because they, get hit by ships or, so you'll see a lot of dead animals on the beach too, whales and whatnot.
You don't bring those home.
Nope.
That would be no fun.
In
Well,
fact,
John,
my two beachcombing buddies, they can't handle the smell of a dead whale. You hike down the beach and then they're getting sick once they catch smell of it. So
yeah, I think you mentioned, by the way, you guys, John sent so much great video. We had great, some more photos. And then Sue Kirk from CHAG 101, she's a jeweler up in Forks. She went by and she did more video. So I had so much stuff I wanted to include that I couldn't fit, but you talked about the sea foam, which I thought was very funny. Like the sea foam that you find down at the beach.
oh yeah. Yeah, when it's really stormy, there's foam on the beach. I've had it 6 feet deep before. I've seen it down there, but if you're out walking on the beach and you walk through that foam, when you get home, you don't want to just throw your pants into the laundry pile, because that foam is microorganisms, and what happens when you go home, they die on your pants, on your clothes, and then they really stink. So you want to make sure you get that rinsed off and get it right into the washing machine.
Yeah. No, we don't want that. It looks really pretty, but it's not. It doesn't smell very pretty.
Yeah. Some of the oldest things I've found are 4 to 24 million years old.
Whoa.
It's a pillow lava and the scallop fossils. They're
Very cool.
and then in the same breath as that, I have a mammoth tooth and a fossilized whale vertebrae that are 4 to 24 million years old too.
Wow, that's so cool. So where are those coming from? Are they in your cliffs and they're falling onto the beach, or are they coming in?
No,
from-
they're on the bedrock, and when the surf washes all the sand away,
Oh,
then
okay.
they're down there. Yeah, some of the gravelly beaches you can find them.
Mm-hmm. Sarah says that just like your sea foam, the mangrove muck is very smelly. So
Oh yeah.
What do you wear when you go down there? You have a backpack to carry things home, or how are you getting it back?
Yes, I have a big freighter backpack. It's called an Alaskan freighter pack, big sack on it. So and then I have eye bolts where the pins are that hold the sack on, so that I can tie the other floats on. So,
are you bringing back mostly buoys now instead of the glass floats, the plastic?
yeah,
ones?
right now I'm bringing back things that I have in a stash from when the stuff was coming in really good. I would pick up all the buoys and stash them in a pile of brush. And for later, if I didn't find nothing, I could get something out of the stash. So I have those on all the beaches.
So we could stumble upon it and come up on your treasure.
I've found other people's stashes of buoys, and I've also found 2 stashes of glass floats from the old days. People had stashed them.
Did you take them?
Well, yeah, they were back under the brush with 3 inches of leaves and stuff on them. And I used to talk to the old timers, and they said that when they were going Beachcombing, they found so many glass floats, they would stash them and they never went back for them. Then they would tell me where they were at and I'd go look and they really never find them. I was looking by the Starbuck mine, crawling around looking for finding old bottles, and I found 18 glass floats in a pile underneath a brush. And
Wow.
then one time I found my brother and I found 6 of them just coming out of the mud bank. The bank had slid down and covered them up.
Oh,
We were digging them out of the clay bank.
it's like squirrels hiding their nuts or woodpeckers putting the acorns and then they forget to get them.
Yep. I try and hide them. I've never really stashed any glass floats before.
Yeah,
So
I wouldn't either.
I make pains to bring them all back. So
Yeah. So what's your dream find when you head down to the beach? A glass float or?
yeah. I'd like to find a giant rolling pin, which I probably never will because they're they don't last when they hit the beaches here. They're
Yeah, that's true.
they're not round and durable, so. But
You went to Japan after the tsunami. What was that like?
oh, that was an amazing trip. It was Japan is the cleanest country I've ever been in, the most friendly people. It was fun to travel. It was pretty mind-boggling, all the devastated areas we went into. But talking to the people, it was 2 years after the tsunami, and talking to the people about, that was about the first time you could talk to them and they weren't, really racked over about it. So it was pretty amazing.
Well, you guys, if you have any other questions, send them along my way. Throw them in the chat. I can send them to John and we can get him to answer your questions later. But really, so much fun going to the museum. You guys got to go. It's just amazing. And last, Matt just noted, in March, there's a Beachcombers and Float Expo in Ocean Shores, Washington. And it was amazing. John had some tables there with some of his collection, and he did a great talk. The people are there with these table after table after table of glass floats. So
Yeah, if you like floats, it's amazing.
yeah,
Do they hold that every year? I couldn't remember.
Every year, first weekend in March.
Got it.
and that was definitely worth a trip. And then go to Seattle and check out that Chihuly Museum with those towers modeled after John's towers. That was so cool. But yeah, that's a really, really fun museum too. So thank you so much, John. This was really fun. And
Well,
maybe
thanks
we'll
for
do
having
again
me.
and I'll get some more of that footage in there. But I really appreciate you answering all of our 8 million jillion questions today. It's been really fun.
Got lots more answers.
Okay, good. All
I
right.
got a sign in the museum that says answer the beach. And it says question, where did you find this?
Excellent. I like it.